There is a terrific column in the Washington Examiner. Brad Polumbo is the writer of this piece, and he warns people that by supporting socialism, young people are signing the death warrant for their own financial future. Brad is on the Newsmaker line. Brad, welcome to the program. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on, Todd.
All right. Well, look, this is a terrific column you wrote, and I want you to explain to our listeners. Before we do that, though, are you of the millennial age, or are you on the generation coming up behind millennials?
So I'm right on the borderline of two, actually. So I think I technically count as Gen Z, but just by 1 year. So I kind of know a lot of people in both generations.
All right. So you can self-identify as one or the other. So and for the sake of our conversation, we're going to talk about the millennials here, and you do a terrific job of calling out the millennials and the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world in your piece. What do you mean by this headline you've got here? By supporting socialism, young people are signing death warrants for their financial future.
Well, it's simple. I see it all the time with young people around me. Growing and more is that young people are viewing socialism favorably. I saw an Axios poll that said 61% of young people actually view socialism favorably, but I was shocked to see that this included 29% of young Republicans, too. So I'm really disturbed by this because when you look at the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez radical democratic socialist agenda, we're talking anywhere between 32 trillion and 40 trillion in spending. That is all going to go onto the national debt that will kill the economic growth that my generations are relying on for our future, right? We're going to have to pay that off. And that's why we're signing the death warrant for our own future by supporting this kind of crap.
Yeah, the RNC says this is going to cost about $2 trillion to fully decarbonize the economy. Beyond that, Brad, I mean, she literally wants to upgrade every existing building in the country. There's absolutely no way that this is feasible, but this is what they want to do, and a lot of the presidential candidates on the Democrat side are signing up for this.
Well, it's unfair, I think, to call this the Green New Deal. I think we have to call it what it is, the Green New Disaster. I mean, this thing is so comedic that even Nancy Pelosi, right, who is no right-winger, could dismiss this as a dream. Right, like you said, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to abolish airplanes, cows. She wants to upgrade every building, put charging stations for electric cars everywhere. I mean, this environmental part of this plan is so radical, but we can't actually just ignore that's not the only thing. This also just has random, unrelated socialist proposals plugged in there, like Medicare for All and Jobs Guarantee, and that's why this thing would cost trillions and trillions of dollars. And that's why our generation can't get on board with this, even though it sounds nice when people promise you free everything.
Well, heck yeah, but somebody's got to pay for that. And as you pointed out in your column, there's just not enough money to pay for all of this stuff, Brad. I want to go back to another column you wrote about PC culture. And you tell people to stop laughing at the social justice warriors. And you've got this is a great point, because we do like to have a little bit of fun at their expense. But the cold hard reality, as you point out, is that they're actually winning the day.
They are winning. So I think it's interesting, as somebody coming off, I'm a senior at UMass Amherst, one of the most liberal public universities you'll find. I can tell you firsthand, right, there is this rising political correctness culture. And it is easy to laugh at it, right? You see silly stories on Fox News, and you say, wow, that's ridiculous, of course. But you can't just laugh at it, right? Because along with these stories comes rising intolerance towards free speech, right? You see higher and higher polling for students that think hate speech should be illegal, students that support deplatforming, all these things that are really concerning, because that's not the American way. That's not what our Constitution was founded on. So, I mean, we have to take it seriously and look at it as a challenge to overcome.
Now back to your other piece here. You pointed out something that I do find disturbing, is that 29% of young Republicans, and you're quoting the Axios survey, 29% of young Republicans say socialism is not necessarily a bad thing. They view it positively. Why do you think that is?
So I think it's in part because they don't fully understand what socialism means. I mean, a lot of young people, when they hear socialism, they think of Denmark or Sweden. I mean, Denmark is actually a market economy, right? High-ranking public officials in Denmark have said, Bernie, stop calling us socialists. We have markets. Yeah, high taxes, but markets. So there's some confusion, but also we have to think about the fact that there is a reason that young people are looking towards radical economic ideas. It's because they're facing high student debt, limited opportunities, blah, blah, blah. But it's serious, right? We have to take it seriously. So we have to offer our own conservative solutions. What are we going to do to increase wages? What are we going to do to cut down rents and cut back on regulations in inner cities that are causing rent crises? And what are we going to do about the environment, right? We don't want the Green New Deal, but obviously we need to do something. So in part, it's on us, right? So in part, it represents a failing of the right that so many young people are believing in this because we're not making a good enough case, clearly.
I'm wondering if it's maybe something even much more simpler. Maybe this is an issue of what kids are being taught in the public school system, and maybe maybe another part of that is that moms and dads are not paying attention to what their kids are learning in the public schools.
Well, it's certainly that, too, when it comes to universities, for sure. I mean, many, many, many universities in this country are bubbles, liberal bubbles. They're echo chambers where there's not a lot of conservative opinions or thought. And that is a problem, right? So we do want to expose more young people to diverse views. And that needs to be one of our goals. But one of the best ways to do that is to meet them where they're at. Young people are concerned about the high cost of college, and that's why they listen to Bernie Sanders all day. Well, we need to put out conservative platforms about how we're going to do what Mitch Daniels did at Purdue, right, and lower the cost of college by cutting back on wasteful administration. We need to make a positive approach with our own solutions.
Yeah, and I